Hi, I'm Ace, welcome to Squeak Code. I'm actually recording this the second time in a row. The first time you were basically about this distance away from my face, and this is a fisheye lens, and that gives you a serious case of moon face when you're quite close to it. The other reason why is I said I was making this video and then I got quite a few people asking what is Squeak Code, because a lot of you now know me from Draw Curiosity and my work with Tom Scott. So Squeak Code actually has nothing to do with Draw Curiosity, has nothing to do with my science channel. The only thing in common is that I make it. Squeak Code is essentially a mental health channel where I talk about mental health topics. Quick FYI, I struggled with very severe OCD a few years ago, and I also happen to have Tourette's, although it's not particularly noticeable most of the time. And especially when I'm talking, I'm thinking about what I'm speaking, and that seems to block out the tics. So a lot of people think I make up the tics. I'm not, I just have a mild case. With regards to the OCD, I'm doing a lot better now, but I found it very helpful at the time to talk about it because a lot of people don't know what OCD is, or they're not aware they have it, such as was the case with me. So I thought, well, that's a problem. I'm a bit shy about talking about OCD and I feel a bit cowardly not talking about it. So what's the best way to combat that? By making videos and talking about it. So that's basically how Squeak Code was born. It's completely different to Draw Curiosity. A Squeak Code video basically takes as long as it takes for me to record it, occasionally edit it and upload it to YouTube. A Draw Curiosity video, I script, I put a load of planning into it, I plan animations and basically try to convey a topic as best as I can. I feel Squeak Code is becoming a little bit more about me and mental health. It's more of a chatting to a camera, whereas Draw Curiosity, I do try to make it about the subject that I'm talking about. So that's a very not so brief introduction to Squeak Code. And what I actually wanted to talk about today is, first of all, I had some really good news. Essentially, after 1.5 years on a waiting list to see a higher tier of care on the NHS, where I'm going to be seen by a psychologist for my OCD, I found out on Thursday I've reached the top and I'm going to be seen on Monday. And of course this is good news, but what does my anxious brain do? Oh crap, no! Let's get an OCD relapse, because then he's going to have something to treat, right? Doesn't make sense, but since when did mental health ever make sense, really? So I've not been feeling as great recently, even though I am looking forward to getting this all sorted out. The other thing is that it was World Suicide Prevention Day yesterday, and I wanted to make a video for that, so meshing those two topics together, I wanted to make a video about tips on what to do when going through rough times, because it will also serve to remind it to myself right now. So, after this long-winded introduction, my very first tip is basically to have a little bit of blind faith that things are going to get better. Especially when you're going through a very rough patch, it's very easy to think that the way that you're feeling right now is going to be permanent, that you're stuck that way forever, and that you're never going to get any better, and that any inkling of how well you felt in the past is going to remain in the past. That isn't true. Things do get better. It usually takes a while to get better. It never sort of clicks from one day to another. That would be great. But things do get better. Number two, sounds a bit pessimistic, but it's basically to accept things aren't going to get better immediately. I think when you take the pressure off feeling that you have to feel better tomorrow than you did today, you have to feel better tomorrow or next week or next month than you do right now, you take off a lot of pressure off yourself, a pressure to feel better and a pressure that will lead to disappointment if you're not getting the progress you want. And in doing so, it allows you to focus and to do well at the rate that works for you. And ironically, when I learnt to forgive myself and I learnt to accept that, yep, sometimes OCD is just gonna screw with my life, it actually screws less with it, because I know that's gonna happen. I'm ready to react to it and do something about it. Number three is more to do with playing with the senses. Occasionally I find that a little bit of sensory overload or a bit of sensory deprivation can help reduce my symptoms slightly. If my thoughts are racing and I've got lots of thoughts and I'm trying not to pay attention to them because that always makes them worse, sometimes putting something like a radio on in the background or just some noise will drown it out. Alternatively, turning off all the lights, trying to keep things as quiet as possible, and trying to make myself as calm as possible. And I say trying because I know it's very hard to do that when you're feeling anxious, but those are also things that help. Number 4, I have to check my list because I'm really sorry, I just messed around with the camera. Number 4 is basically write a note to yourself when things are going better. This was one of my most effective strategies when things were at their worst. Back when my OCD was incredibly severe, I spent a good 3 months seeing absolutely no progress. In fact, if anything, I was getting worse. But occasionally I would get 10 minutes of grace every other day, every other week, where for whatever reason my brain was clearly just too fed up and it didn't care, or it wasn't producing any of these intrusive thoughts. At the time it felt like heaven, and I remember I wrote down these notes saying, Inês, you are still able to feel happy, you're still able to actually be free of these thoughts. I know it doesn't feel like it, but it does feel very good, you're able to do it, just hang in there. And I'm glad I did do that. It was served as a good reminder that I was able to still feel that way. I wasn't, I don't know, broken forever. My brain hadn't completely given up on me. And indeed, 3 years later, well, about 3 months after that time, I was doing a lot better. So writing notes to record the good moments are also very important. The next 2 tips go tightly linked together. Basically, try to look after yourself and live as normally as possible. It can be very hard to eat, sleep and exercise properly when you're not feeling great, but I would actually prioritise those over anything else that you need to do. It's important to look after yourself. They may be small things, but together they will help you feel better. And the whole living normally, I mean, don't give up doing the things you enjoy. Try to keep doing them even if you're not doing them as much. It's very easy to stop doing things when you stop enjoying them due to mental health, but it does mean that when you are starting to feel better, it might feel like you've got a lot more to rebuild to get back to where you were. Whereas if you're living normally, I find it was a lot easier to just transition into, I guess, how I was living before. And I think it also helps to just feel like, you know, your depression or your anxiety hasn't taken that away from you, even though you might feel like giving it up. The last one is basically be creative. I found that when I couldn't think about anything else, then, well, you know what, I will just draw my OCD, I will draw a monster, I will laugh at it, I'll channel it creatively. Drawing might not be your thing, you might prefer to write about it, or dance, or sing, or compose music, or cook, whatever it is, but channeling it creatively is something that helps a lot of people. And those are basically all the tips that I have. I'm sorry if any of them sound a bit cliche or sappy. They're things that I think have helped me, so they're tips that I'd wholeheartedly recommend to anyone going through a similar time. Nonetheless, I know that not all of them work for everyone, that people have other strategies, so if you have done something different, then I would love to know what it is that you do. And most of all, I hope you're doing well, and hopefully you don't actually need this video right now, but it's, you know, a good resource to have. So with that, that's it from me for today. I feel I've gone on a bit of a ramble, and I will probably see you in another SqueakCode video at some point soon. Bye.